Ahoy there folks, I'm Captain Benzie and welcome back to another developer Q&A video for Eve Echoes. Now I do apologise that I've not really been putting content out this week. I'm sure you can hear in my voice, and if you follow the channel, if you're subscribed, you'll have probably seen my notifications that both the kids in our house tested positive for COVID. I have been feeling absolutely atrocious all week. Carrie came down with pretty much the same thing. We have to assume it is all COVID. It has been an incredibly unpleasant week for us. And I've just had literally no energy to record, let alone not even to play the game, let alone record and make content. Beyond that as well, up until this morning, I've just not really had a voice for microphone, and it's still not particularly great, but hey, we're going to push through this one because it's a dev Q&A. These are nice, chill content, and they're fairly easy for me to do. If you know what a dev Q&A already is and you don't want to learn about how to win a month of Combo Omega, do head to the timestamp that I'll put on screen now. Otherwise, the Developer Q&A series is a video series where every week the developers take 4 questions posed by you guys, the community, they respond to them and they post those answers to the official Eve Echoes Twitter account, Facebook page, Discord, and in-game as well. I like to do a video reading through these and adding my own thoughts and opinions because I can go back on knowledge from previous dev Q&As, the Reddit AMAs and things like that, that the developers have done, and kind of tie it all together, and it allows me to give an insight into games development and a direction that Eve Echoes could perhaps be taking. Now, if you're interested in winning Omega, first of all, if you go to the description of this video, there'll be a link that you can click to ask your own questions to the developers. If yours is chosen to be answered, you will win a month of basic Omega, and every week I give away 3 lucky winners a month of Combo Omega each. 1 is given to someone in my YouTube comment section, 2 are given to people on my Discord, so make sure you are not just on my Discord, but posting and talking, and you do keep an eye on the comment section as well, because I will respond and say, hey, DM me with your 11-digit character ID and your character name, and I'll get that Omega sorted for you. You can only win 1 of these a month, so if you have won from another content creator recently, please let me know so I can select someone else. Otherwise, with all of that said and done, let's jump right into another disappointing developer Q&A, this for the week of the 16th to the 22nd. Now, I say disappointing, there's actually some interesting stuff in here, but there's also a clear indicator that netties just still don't get it. And we'll talk about that when we get to it. So question number 1, please add protection in Arena before the game starts, just like a 1-minute undock protection. My phone can't even handle a simple texture in Arena, and it caused my phone being late to the game or adding the accept button. Game is ready, everyone in both parties accept, games start. Now, I actually kind of agree with this. Ultimately, I play on a pretty high-end device, an Asus ROG Phone 3. It loads everything in seconds at full ultra, and everything's hunky-dory. But I get that not everyone has that capability. Yeah, sure. Add a little countdown at the beginning. That's really all it would take here. It doesn't need to be a 1-minute undock protection, because that's just bullcrap. The idea there that you could warp in, realize that your opponent, oh no, they're a little bit too close, so you just kind of, prepare and think about your no. It should be a countdown once the arena has loaded, but that doesn't show your opponent. Just make sure that everything's loaded in, and then gives a countdown to battle beginning so that everyone is loaded and on equal footing when the battle starts. Absolutely agree with that. I think that's a good way of doing it. Kylan responds, we'll discuss the optimization solutions with relevant developers and schedule it, which basically means yeah, this is a good idea, let's do that. And I agree. I think that should happen. I think little quality of life like that is a good thing to happen. Now, you could argue that, well, should you be playing on such a low-end device? But not everyone has the ability to just keep upgrading their devices. Heck, I don't. This phone's lasted me 2 years now, and it's going to last me another 2 at this rate, with the way finance is going. So yeah, I think anything that makes the game more accessible to more people is a good thing. Let's move on then to question 2. So far, so good. Off to a good start here. Make a global search function so we can search for modules and ships among all our stations and hangars. Sometimes you forget where you put your stuff, and it would be great if you could search once and get a list of what you have and where. And again, I kind of agree with this. A search function is not as easy as it would first appear, especially a global search function. There is a part of me that thinks station containers, again, would do a great way of helping to solve this, so you could go to a station in your assets and have a look through what all of that and know that there's a station container there that should have it. I think there is a certain amount of play here in that ultimately there is a disadvantage to just leaving stuff all over New Eden. You should be trying to bring stuff to stations that you are actually using, and there shouldn't be all that many of them. I often do a cleanup where I fly around to all the different stations that just have random boxes and things at them, and I delete those or carry them to where they need to be. It's pretty boring, but ultimately it is a part of the game, so that there is that side of things. That said, I do agree that a global search function would be really useful, just that, well, these aren't as simple to add as some people think. I honestly think a lot of people think games development is just kind of drag and drop assets onto a screen and then it just magically works. Something like a search function is something you'll often hear people on the internet go, oh, this is really easy, just add a search function. So have you ever tried to properly implement a search function in game development? That is difficult. Now, Kylan responds, global search is not in our development plan for now. Capsuleers can go to personal assets and search there, then click on the stations on the left to see the search results for each station. The thing is, the standard station search isn't particularly good either. And so whilst he is correct that yes, you can type in something to search and then just tap each station one by one and it'll let you know if you've got any of that item there, but it's still really finicky. It's like very case sensitive and all of this kind of thing, and it doesn't really work. I think the whole search function does really need an overhaul, and that's the kind of quality of life change that ultimately it's below the surface. I think a lot of people would be like, oh, it's fantastic that it's there, but anyone who joins after is just going to assume it's been there from the start. It's one of those development things that takes a lot of time and resources, and no one's going to celebrate it particularly. And I think there is a prevalence in games dev to make sure that anything you add to a game is something that people notice and shout out about and get excited. The argument could be made of, well, do you want a global search function or do you want exciting new content? Because you can only really get one or the other. And yeah, that's a difficult choice. I think this is something they should be working on in the background, and if that means that, something is delayed by 2 weeks each time, rather than it coming out the first of the month, everything comes out on like a 2-week cycle a little bit later, so it slows down development of other things that we still get, I'd be okay with that. I think quality of life like this needs to happen. It's a good thing for the game. It helps players out. Let's move on then to question number 3, and here's the one that I read through, and it got me ever so slightly angry this morning. Will the Dormant realm be modified in any way to make it easier for people with lower skills or lesser ships? I can hardly find anyone to do it with me, so I'm missing out on implants and materials, and everyone does the hard levels that I can't do. Thanks. Kylan responds, in the future there will be Dormant Realm dungeons that low tonnage ships can also participate in, and the difficulty will be relatively low. At the same time, we've been paying attention to the balance issues recently, and will consider reducing the difficulty of the first 2 levels of each dungeon. Now I'm just going to sit here and let that sink in for a moment. Just read through that again if you've got it here on screen, and okay, let's look at some things here that low tonnage ships can also participate in. So 3-4 weeks of us sitting there saying we need small ship exclusive content, and the response is we will add things that small ships can also do. That is not the point. Do we really need more battleship content right now? I think if you release something that is just for small ships and the battleship pilots go, oh well, why can't I participate? Quite frankly, f*** off. Because there's just no shortage of battleship content at all out there right now. Like, just let people have this, for crying out loud. We're not asking for, like, oh yeah, the first couple of levels you can bring frigates and destroyers, but then you've got to bring battleships like everyone else. No, we want an actual mode for this. We want something that is, for example, exclusive to frigates and destroyers, just small ships. And the concept of this is that the difficulty of that particular level of the Dormant Realm, 1, it would be locked to small ships, so you can't bring a battleship even if you wanted to. Secondly, you work it so that the difficulty of the Dormant Realm is based on, for example, the anticipated tech level of the 4 players, -2 or 3. So, like a difficulty 1 small ship Dormant realm would be designed around Tech 3 or Tech 4 players in frigates and destroyers, whereas the difficulty 2 would be around Tech 4, Tech 5, designed with the idea that you would probably need, like, frigate logistics and destroyer guardians and things like that. Wouldn't it be nice to have a reason to undock a frigate logistics vessel and a destroyer guardian? Wouldn't that be something? Then by time you're hitting about difficulty 7, difficulty 8, it's requiring you to be fully Tech 10 skilled, using things like Tech 10 Assault 2 destroyers, maybe some faction frigates, maybe even some of the, stealth bombers could find a use in here. That would be incredible now, wouldn't it? Stuff like this. So once you hit difficulty 9 and difficulty 10, you require a full fleet of well-equipped frigate and destroyer pilots, all with maximum level skills in those ships. You are rewarding pilots for actually sticking with a tonnage right the way to the end. And you can sit there and tell me that, oh, well, the idea is to go up to bigger ships. Then why do we have Tech 10 small ships? What is the point in having a Tech 7, Tech 8, Tech 9, or Tech 10 destroyer or frigate if you're just supposed to be in cruisers, battle cruisers, or by that point, battleships? What is the actual point in having anything at Tech 10 other than battleships, if that's your bloody theory? So, the concept of this is it rewards players who actually stick with a particular tonnage. If you are a Tech 10 destroyer pilot, you actually have something that rewards you for having skilled into Tech 10 destroyers. Same if you're a faction frigate pilot, because right now you can give the argument, oh yeah, there's people using a succubus in Dormant. Yes, as bait. I'm talking about a thing that would require you to actually have, say, a succubus and a worm, and then some destroyers for extra firepower there, like the Talwar 2 Assault and stuff like that. Wouldn't that be something? But no. It appears that NetEase still absolutely insist that if they add anything to the game, it also has to have battleships in it. Because reasons. And you can say, oh, well, battleships make them more money. Look at the amount of how much a cruiser nanocore costs compared to a battleship nanocore. So just make the cruiser cores as expensive as the battleship nanocores. This isn't difficult. There's no reason that nanocores have to be priced differently according to their tonnage. If NetEase are like, oh, well, we don't want you buying cheaper stuff, then, well, 1, screw off with that concept, and 2, just make it the same price. This really isn't that hard, Yes, it would require some balancing. Yes, we probably need higher level logistics frigates and stuff like that. Maybe even a Tech 10 destroyer that is the Guardian variant. Oh my goodness, possibilities, variety. It's almost like this game is designed to be a sandbox, am I right? Or am I just talking craziness to the people who are listening at the moment? At this point, I can't tell whether or not I'm angry at the question, or whether I'm just worn out of a week of, vomiting and feeling like I'm 95 years old. Ultimately, yeah. This needs to happen, and I just don't understand why NetEase are so reluctant on this. I just don't get it. Just give people what they're asking for and stop trying to hook battleships into everything. There is more than enough battleship content out there. There is negligible content for anyone else. So give the people who have no content something, and just exclude the people who already have the entire freaking game at their disposal. Come on, this isn't difficult right now. Let's move on then to question number 4 and see if I can't calm down a little bit. Manufacturing. Let's say I craft something that takes an hour. If I change the quantity to 10, it'll multiply the materials needed by 10, including the time to complete. I could use 10 slots and have it all done in an hour instead of waiting 10 hours. Can you change it so that time doesn't get multiplied also, or just not as much? Yeah, apparently me staying calm isn't going to be a thing in this one. Yeah, why don't we just, completely negate an entire aspect of the game? What you have pointed out in asking this question is that, yes, you can use 10 slots to get it done super quickly, or you can use 1 slot to get it done, and it'll take a lot longer to do everything, thus allowing you to do multiple things. It's almost like if you want to build 10 battleships, you can either take 1 slot and take 10 hours or whatever, or you can use all 10 slots and not be able to build anything else. It's almost almost like the point of industrial slots is to actually give you that choice, right? That if you want to build multiple things quickly, it uses more slots. Whereas if you're willing to take more time, you can stack a load of the same thing and be building multiple different projects, right? Am I crazy? Am I crazy, or is this a troll question, or do you genuinely not understand that that is the actual decision at play here? Like, video games are games as a concept. All games, I would argue, that are remotely fun are based around the concept of making a decision and living with the consequences. Let's go really basic here. I'm doing a lot of board gaming stuff recently. I am opening up a board gaming channel, and if you're into that kind of stuff, I'd love you to come join me on that channel, because I want to talk about my life in Zimbabwe, talk about board gaming and card games and stuff like that. So I'm setting up a whole channel for that. But ultimately, let's look at one of the most basic, well-known, boring, crap-ass board games ever, Monopoly. Yes, you hate it, it's terrible, but it still has choices in it, right? When you land on a space, you have the choice of whether or not you buy it, assuming you can afford it. And later on throughout the game, the results of those decisions are going to come into play. If someone lands on a space that you've got property on, they pay you money. If you didn't buy the property and people land on that space, they can buy it, which might stop you being able to get it, a really important piece for later on. Let's look at something a bit more complex. If you've played, for example, Pandemic. Pandemic is a game. You have 4 actions a turn, and that never feels like enough, because do I move over this way? Do I trade this card to that person? Do I build a research station? Do I discard this card to fly over there? Do I discard that card to fly over there? Do I clear out 2 cubes or 3 cubes or 1 cube? You have to make those decisions, and those decisions are the entire point of the game. And here, someone is saying, can you just make it so that decision doesn't matter? What's the point in the game then? Like, if you were playing chess and every piece could just move in every direction and, to any square at any time, there's no choice. There's no decision of which piece you want to move and in which direction. You just kind of go, right, this pawn's going to go across and move to that. It would be stupid, right? Rules exist to give choices, and choices exist to add interesting diversity to a game and actually to get you to think and do stuff. And ultimately what this question is asking for here is the removal of choice. And if you're removing choice in a game, that's usually a bad thing. Like, yeah, there are times when removing choice in a game can help streamline things, but that's usually because the choice being removed was meaningless to begin with. This, if someone's asking for it and explains that they understand, then the choice is meaningful. Do you use 1 slot to build those 10 ships and it take 10 times as long? Or do you use all 10 slots to build that 1 ship and it goes 10 times faster? But then you can't build anything else. That is the choice you are supposed to make. And asking for that choice to be removed is removing meaningful decisions from the game, at which point why even bother playing? Kylam responds, the significance of industrial slots is to enable multitasking manufacturing, thereby saving time. At the same time, skills in some decryptors can also shorten the time. And he's not wrong. I know some people are going to read this and go, that doesn't answer the question. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. The significance of industrial slots is to enable multitasking manufacturing. If you want to put all 10 of those ships in different slots, yeah, it goes faster. Or you can put them in 1 slot and have 9 slots free to build other things. That is the point. Stop asking for stuff to be taken out of the game just to remove choice, because your poor little brain cells can't cope with making that decision. Industry's in a bad way. I get it. A lot of people are struggling with industry. I get it. This is not the way. This is really not the way, unless your way of fixing industry is to get 90% of the remaining industrialists to quit out of boredom, thereby leaving the 10% just to make bank because no one else can be bothered to do it. Yeah, I think that would fix industry. I think it would be the worst fix you can ever imagine, but it would theoretically work. Anyway, folks, that's all for today's Dev Q&A. Some interesting questions to start with, 2 absolutely infuriating ones on the second page. I'm trying to keep calm. I want to recover. I want to be back next week and making all kinds of awesome content. I know people want an implant video. They want a Dormant Realm video. I haven't been able to do either of those because I don't have any implants and I can't get into Dormant Realms because I'm having to train battleship skills again because the devs just won't put anything else in. Anyway, folks, that's all for today. I'm sure you have your own thoughts and opinions. Add them to the comment section down below. I am, of course, conversing with the devs about this at all times. However, it is beginning to feel like I am just shouting into the void. I'm slamming my head against a brick wall, and for a week where I'm feeling like absolute crap, that's not really a great thing for me. So yeah, fingers crossed this weekend will recover me, and I'll be back next week with a load of exciting new content for you. Thanks for supporting the channel, folks. Happy sailing, and see you in New Eden!